Good evening. Tonight we stand at the threshold of a moment that will be remembered for years to come, a turning point in the story of the American and global economy. Tonight, history is unfolding before our eyes. The decisions made today will ripple across continents, affecting millions of lives and shaping the future in ways we are only beginning to understand. The United States Supreme Court has struck down the Trump-era tariffs, a move that's shaking the foundations of global economic policy. These tariffs, once seen as a shield for American industries, have now been declared unconstitutional, sending shockwaves through the corridors of power and commerce. This isn't just about politics or law, it's about the price of goods in your store, the security of jobs in factories, and the future of the world economy. Every product on the shelf, every paycheck earned, and every business decision made is now touched by this landmark ruling. The court ruled that the broad use of Section 232 and 301 tariffs was unconstitutional, citing executive overreach. This decision redefines the balance of power between the executive branch and Congress and sets a precedent for how trade policy will be crafted in the years ahead. Global markets reacted instantly. Stocks and currencies swung wildly as corporations and governments scrambled to adjust. Investors are now recalibrating their strategies, and businesses are reassessing their supply chains, uncertain about what tomorrow will bring. For years, these tariffs divided opinion. Some saw them as vital protection for American workers and industries, while others viewed them as a costly mistake that hurt consumers and strained international relationships. The debate has been fierce, with passionate arguments on both sides. Now, the legal pillar supporting them is gone, and the world faces a new era of uncertainty and opportunity. Governments and businesses alike must navigate uncharted waters, seeking new strategies and alliances in a rapidly changing landscape. The global economy has changed dramatically since 2018, with alliances strained and supply chains rerouted. Countries have adapted, forming new partnerships and finding alternative sources for goods and materials. The removal of these tariffs could accelerate these shifts, or perhaps even reverse some of them. The sudden removal of these trade barriers leaves a vacuum. How it's filled will shape the next generation. Will American factories roar back to life, or will foreign competition intensify? Will prices fall for consumers, or will new challenges emerge? The answers remain uncertain. Tonight, we break down what this means for you, the nation, and the world. From the dinner table to the boardroom, from Wall Street to Main Street, the impact of this decision will be felt everywhere. Stay with us as we explore the opportunities, the risks, and the road ahead in this new economic dawn. To grasp today's shockwaves, let's rewind to 2018. President Trump launched aggressive tariffs, citing national security and unfair trade practices. Steel and aluminum imports were hit first, affecting allies and adversaries alike, sparking global retaliation. The trade war with China escalated, with tariffs on hundreds of billions in goods and counter-tariffs on American agriculture. Supporters claimed the tariffs revived U.S. manufacturing and forced new trade deals. Critics argued they raised prices for Americans and failed to boost jobs. Even under President Biden, most tariffs remained, reframed as tools against China and for domestic industry. For nearly 8 years, tariffs became a fixture of U.S. policy, until today. The Supreme Court has now dismantled that structure. The legal battle began with thousands of American businesses challenging the tariffs' constitutionality. They argued the executive branch overstepped, using old laws to wage a sweeping trade war. The cases wound through lower courts, producing conflicting rulings and deep uncertainty. The Supreme Court consolidated these challenges into American Importers Alliance versus United States. At issue, does the president have near unlimited power to impose tariffs, or are there real limits? Oral arguments revealed sharp divides over executive authority and the separation of powers. The world watched, knowing the outcome would reshape global trade and Washington's balance of power. This morning, the Supreme Court delivered a historic verdict that is already sending shockwaves through the legal and economic landscape. In a 6-3 decision, the justices sided with American importers, marking a significant shift in how trade laws will be interpreted and enforced moving forward. The ruling is being hailed as one of the most consequential decisions on trade policy in recent years, and its impact is expected to ripple across industries and government agencies alike. Chief Justice Roberts, writing for the majority, emphasized that the executive branch's broad and aggressive application of tariff laws had overstepped its authority and undermined Congress's constitutional role in regulating trade. The opinion stressed the importance of checks and balances, reminding the nation that the power to impose tariffs and shape trade policy ultimately rests with the legislative branch, not the president alone. Importantly, the court did not strike down the tariff laws themselves. Instead, it sharply limited how and when they can be used, setting new boundaries for executive action. This means the laws remain on the books, but their application is now subject to much stricter scrutiny and judicial oversight. For Section 232, which allows the president to impose tariffs for national security reasons, the court now requires a direct and credible link between the imports in question and a genuine threat to national security. Vague or speculative claims will no longer suffice, raising the bar for future executive actions. When it comes to Section 301, which targets unfair trade practices, the administration can no longer expand tariffs without conducting new investigations and making fresh findings of unfair trade. This curtails the president's ability to unilaterally escalate trade disputes and imposes a more rigorous process for imposing economic penalties. The dissenting justices, however, issued a stark warning. They argued that the ruling could create confusion and chaos in the short term and insisted that it should be up to Congress, not the courts, to clarify and reform trade laws. The debate over the proper balance of power is far from over. The immediate effect of the decision is dramatic. Tariffs on steel, aluminum, and a wide range of Chinese goods are now void. This sudden change is expected to have far-reaching consequences for manufacturers, importers, and global supply chains. Companies affected by the tariffs may now seek billions of dollars in refunds for duties paid over the past several years. At the same time, the executive branch loses a powerful tool for negotiating and enforcing trade policy, fundamentally altering the balance of power in Washington. The U.S. Treasury now faces the daunting prospect of massive financial liabilities as it prepares to process refund claims and adjust to a new legal reality. The fiscal impact could be felt for years to come. This legal earthquake has triggered a global economic tsunami. Markets around the world are reacting with volatility as investors, governments, and businesses scramble to assess the new rules of international trade and the far-reaching implications of the Supreme Court's landmark decision. Wall Street's reaction was instant and chaotic. Stocks of import-heavy companies soared, while U.S. steel and aluminum producers crashed. The Dow surged, then volatility took over as markets struggled to process the new reality. The U.S. dollar weakened sharply, and global markets from Shanghai to Frankfurt saw wild swings. Asian and European exporters rallied, but the sudden change left everyone scrambling. Commodity prices for metals fluctuated as traders tried to model the new landscape. Central banks were caught off guard, facing a deflationary shock as import costs fell. The abrupt end to tariffs complicates inflation-fighting efforts and future interest rate decisions. Economic models built on years of tariffs are now obsolete. The world's financial system is trying to digest a paradigm shift in hours. No one knows what comes next. Beyond Wall Street, the impact is immediate for families and businesses. Consumer prices for goods like electronics and furniture are expected to drop as tariffs vanish. Retailers are already reassessing prices, offering relief to households. Importers celebrate falling costs, but U.S. steel and aluminum workers fear layoffs as foreign competition returns. Unions are demanding emergency support. Multinational companies that shifted production out of China now face a strategic dilemma. Should they return to China for lower costs or stick with new supply chains? The sudden shift has upended years of planning, creating confusion and risk. For many, the uncertainty is worse than the tariffs themselves. In Washington, the ruling has sparked a political crisis. The Biden administration is scrambling, caught between free trade advocates and angry labor unions. Republicans are divided. Some demand new tariff powers for the president. Others celebrate the return to free trade. The Supreme Court invited Congress to clarify the law, setting up a fierce legislative battle. Will Congress grant new tariff authority or reclaim its constitutional power? With deep divisions, gridlock is likely. For now, zero tariffs may be the default, not by design, but by political paralysis. The U.S. economy faces prolonged uncertainty. Across the globe, experts are weighing in, and there's a rare consensus emerging. The scale of disruption caused by these recent events is truly unprecedented, reaching into every corner of the economy and society. Many are calling this a turning point that will be studied for years to come. Dr. Elena Petrova, a leading voice in international economics, describes the situation as nothing short of an economic earthquake. She warns that the aftershocks will reverberate for years, affecting not just markets, but jobs, wages, and the very structure of global trade. According to her, the ripple effects could reshape how nations interact and do business. Legal scholars are also weighing in, emphasizing that the recent ruling marks a significant shift. They say it reasserts Congress's constitutional power over trade and taxes, a move that could redefine the balance of power in Washington and set new precedents for future administrations. Professor David Chen, a respected authority on government, points out that this decision effectively ends decades of expanding executive authority. He believes it signals a return to more traditional checks and balances, which could have far-reaching implications for how policy is made. Geopolitical analysts are closely watching the fallout. They see both opportunity and risk, a chance for the U.S. to repair strained alliances and reassert leadership, but also a window for rivals like China to exploit the current turmoil and advance their own interests on the world stage. The administration now faces a daunting challenge to quickly craft a new global trade strategy that addresses both domestic concerns and international realities. The pressure is on to act decisively and restore confidence. Many economists are cautiously optimistic. They predict that over time, lower trade barriers could boost economic growth, increase competition, and ultimately lower prices for consumers. However, they caution that these benefits may take years to fully materialize. In the short term, the transition will be anything but smooth. There will be clear winners, industries that adapt quickly and seize new opportunities, but also losers, as some sectors struggle to adjust to the new reality. Policymakers are under pressure to step in and support workers and industries hit hardest by the shock. Targeted relief, retraining programs, and investment in innovation will be crucial to help communities weather the storm. Without a robust safety net, the social and political backlash could be severe. Rising unemployment and economic hardship could fuel unrest and deepen divisions. The stakes for global stability and prosperity are enormous. How leaders respond in the coming months will shape not just the economy, but the future of international relations for years to come. Where do we go from here? The Supreme Court's decision has forced a reckoning over trade, power, and America's global role. The path forward is unclear. Markets, Washington, and businesses are all scrambling to adapt. Congress must now craft a new trade policy, balancing global opportunity with protection for American workers. The choices made in the coming weeks will shape the next decade. For businesses, agility and foresight are essential. For workers, the stakes are personal and immediate. For you, this story is about the price of goods, job security, and your financial future. Stay informed and engaged. Your leaders' decisions now will shape the world for years to come. The only certainty is that change is here. We'll be here to cover every step. Good night.